Christina, why as a dry skin person would you want to try out a powder foundation?
Now this is the main question that I was asking myself before I purchased the BareMinerals Original Foundation. It never seemed quite logical for me, nor even just a little bit intriguing to try a powder product as a base, because why would I apply something like this, a dry texture, onto a super dry, crackling texture that I call my skin? Now, since I use lots of hydrating products and try to layer as many of them as possible, I don't suffer from such dry skin anymore, and I think you can absolutely balance and pretty much combat the dryness with really nourishing, hydrating products. Since I was so intrigued to finally, for the first time, try a powder foundation on my skin, I wanted to share with you guys my results, how it looks like. Now, BareMinerals had been around since 1976. Yes, I did a little bit of my own homework. The original foundation was always their #1 core product. This is what the entire brand always revolved around for quite some time, was the one mineral foundation. Ever since, they have expanded their base product line quite a bit into liquid foundations as well, but mostly BareMinerals as a brand is known for selling powder products. Brace yourselves, I'm going to get a little bit naked around the face. No makeup here, I did not even do my brows, nothing. This is how my skin looks like after I just washed it and used a quite significant amount of moisturizer, since why I'm very much glowy and greasy looking. But this is what my skin needs to survive throughout the day, to be honest. I need a lot of moisture. I used my sunscreen. This time I used the MISSHA sunblock with an SPF of 45. I never leave the house without sunscreen, pretty much. So this is my #1 base I always go for. I did not use a primer for this. I generally never use primers because I don't like the way they feel, and sometimes they pretty much roll off the skin. And since we're going to buff this foundation, I did not want to risk it. Overall, my goal is to even out my skin tone. I don't want to cover everything up. I was using a concealer every once in a while with this product too, but for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to use any further products. When it comes to the application method, BareMinerals say to swirl, tap, and buff the product into the skin. So you take the container, shake a little bit of the product into the cap, and then swirl your kabuki brush, or a rather denser looking brush, into the cap. Then tap it off to get rid of the excess, and then really go to town and buffing in the foundation. I found that the longer you buff in the foundation and the more thorough you are, the better it starts to melt with the oils in your skin and starts to become more of like a cream. I never experienced a powder product to feel that satiny and just very nice. I mean, it doesn't feel dry or cakey or uncomfortable at all. It feels just a little bit creamy, and you can pretty much immediately see where it starts to cover. It just gives a more even-toned and glowier appearance to the skin. So I buffed a little bit of the product at a time and then really spread it out into my skin. I really, really like the little kabuki brush by L'Oreal to buff in the product. It is quite handy, it's very soft, the bristles are really high quality, they don't shed, nothing. I washed this brush a couple of times and it works quite well. Anything that has a denser amount of bristles would work with this foundation beautifully. Even after using such a small amount of the product, you could already see how much more even out my skin tone becomes. Yes, it does have a glowier finish to it, since there are some light reflecting particles in the original formula. I already heard a few reports from people that have larger pores or an oilier skin that this foundation in particular would enhance them even more so. If you have oily skin, you would go for the matte version, the one that does not have any light reflecting particles. For the sake of the video and to demonstrate that you can build this foundation up, I applied another layer so you can see a definitive contrast or just how much more you can cover up. So after 2 layers or 2.5 layers approximately, it's quite hard to measure and gauge how much product you use since it's a powder. You have a glowy, even out skin tone. It doesn't look too heavy. It doesn't look cakey at all. I had some drier parts on my skin, like where I had old blemishes, and it did not emphasize these areas at all. My skin looks like skin. I can touch it. It doesn't feel tacky or uncomfortable at all. It looks like my skin, but better. So in this little tiny container, you get 8 grams of product, which is quite a lot for about 28 to 35 euros, really depending on where you purchase it. I paid around 30 euros for this, and you really do not need a lot of product to cover your entire face. It comes in 20 shades, so it's quite inclusive. However, in my personal opinion, my shade, which is Fair Ivory number 2, is not quite the perfect match for my skin. It doesn't look fake, or there's no line between my jawline and my neck, but it could just be a little bit more on the neutral side. But I don't mind that. I don't think that it looks obvious, so I'm happy with that. But it would definitely be a point where I, as a consumer, would like to see improvement in the range. I'm wearing the foundation right now. It has been on for around 9 hours, and it looks a little bit more shiny than it started out with, but I like that. Again, I have dry skin. I like to look more glowier, shinier than just really flat matte. It would feel very uncomfortable for me anyways, having dry skin. My impression was that the longer you wear it, the better it looks on the skin, because it gradually melts even more so with oils and everything. Using a little bit less than you would naturally anticipate is really the key to make this product work for you. The more product you use, or the more layers you buff into the skin, the higher the coverage you would get. In conclusion, can you tell? I freaking love this foundation, which I never genuinely anticipated to do so. Having dry skin and applying a powder product on top of it never really actually made sense to me. However, with the BareMinerals original foundation, I am completely converted, and I'm definitely going to further use this product. Actually, 8 out of 10 times in the last couple of weeks, I was using this foundation because I felt like that I didn't need too much more coverage. This foundation truly makes your skin look like skin and even feel like it, because it doesn't feel tacky. Yes, it gives you a rather glowy appearance, which is the reason why I would recommend this foundation more towards the normal to dry to very dry skin types, considering that they have used the right base, so a rather hydrating one. But if you have oily skin and probably also enlarged pores, I don't think that this foundation would work in your favor and minimize the oiliness and the pores. They have a matte version of the original as well, which a lot of oilier skin types reported to be much better suited towards them. This is one of the very few candidates of foundations that I would absolutely repurchase as soon as I run out. It is very worth it for how much you get, and I'm just still blown away. I just love it. I hope this video was informative and helpful. If it was, I would love and appreciate if you guys would give me a thumbs up so I know. If you have any further questions, you're not quite sure about the foundation, leave them down in the comments and I try my best to answer all of you. Other than that, I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.